Hello there. This week at Wine Searcher we've been celebrating 25 years since the establishment of our website. So at our recent party we've been tasting wines from 1999 and very kindly Cloudy Bay Vineyards sent us this magnum of Cloudy Bay Marlborough Chardonnay from 1999 to try. And I think that's quite brave of them because actually this style of dry white wine, 25 years is quite a big ask in terms of aging for a wine like this. Having said that, I think back in 1999, Cloudy Bay really were quite a revolutionary winery. They were taking the world by storm. And 99 is actually quite a good vintage for Marlborough. Here we've got a wine that's a blend of 6 different vineyards, all in the Wairau Valley. So we have wines from Rapura, from Renwick and from the Wairau Valley, all in the Wairau Valley. So very much some of the classic earlier vineyards that were planted in Marlborough. Yields evidently in 1999 for the Chardonnay were 7.5 tonnes to the hectare. And the note is that that's quite light. The notes I've got say the vines were trained to the Scott Henry training system, which at that stage I think would have been quite revolutionary. In fact, 1999 was quite a warm vintage, and the reason for the fact that the crop was a little light was the fact that during flowering there had been rain. As a result, there had been poor berry set. A relatively dry and quite warm summer just saw enough rain, the vines healthy and ensure fresh growth. Come picking, the weather was dry and settled, and as a result, healthy fruit was collected. Picking started towards the end of March and continued for the first 2 weeks of April. The notes I've got suggest that this fruit was picked at night, and that would make me think that that's almost entirely machine picked. And the advantage of picking at night, which you can do with a machine relatively rapidly, is that it ensures that the fruit is picked at cool temperature, and it ensures the retention of fresh aromas. At the winery it was destemmed, it was crushed and underwent gentle pressing. Fruit was left to settle in tank for 24 hours, and then fermentation was either induced using commercial yeasts, or a portion was allowed to ferment naturally with the indigenous yeasts that had come in on the fruit. Fermentation went on in French oak barrels, and about 20% of those were new, and the balance of those were seasoned oak. About 60% of the wine was allowed to go through malolactic conversion just to soften out its acidity, but obviously the decision was made to retain some of that malic acid just for crispness. The wines aged with their lees in barrel for a year. Following that, the blend was assembled, and then the wine stayed with its fine lees in tank for a further 6 months, not actually being bottled until November, not far off 2 years after harvest. So let's see what we make of the wine, shall we? I have to say the colour at first I found a little concerning. It almost looks like an Amontillado sherry. There's a sort of a golden, almost bronzed colour there. The wine has 14% alcohol, and it's forming tears quite readily on the side of the glass. Let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are heady and high-toned. There are notes of yeasty leesiness, but also there's a real butterscotchy, burnt sugar sort of note. Some of the lifted notes might be acetone, but they're quite gentle. There's more of the sort of butterscotch and burnt sugar note coming through, to be honest. So let's taste. I'm still not entirely sure about this. On the palate, the wine is fresh, it's rounded. The notes of butterscotch and burnt sugar are all present. There's quite an oak influence there, a toasty note, and there is a slight sherried note of oxidation. However, it's not dominant. This is certainly not a wine that I would say was in its first flush of youth, and I would probably suggest it's quite a way past its prime, but it's still showing some elements that are really interesting. There is a lovely freshness coming through, and there's this interplay between oak, touches of oxidation, and the sort of the creamy textured leesy notes with butterscotch and, as I say, slight burnt sugar there, all sort of giving a little bit of a sort of a brandy-like note, I suppose. The finish ends up more as a sort of the burnt sugar, the oxidised note, and really I suppose the freshness is gone quite quickly. It's an interesting wine to try. I'm not sure it's necessarily a wine I'd want to drink the whole bottle of. I certainly think that if you're looking for its ideal time to drink, 4 or 5 years ago would have been a much better time to do that. However, this wine still has some virtue, some interest, so I'm very grateful to our friends at Cloudy Bay for sending that across. I found that a really interesting experience. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do press the like button. Do consider signing up and following us on Instagram. It would be fantastic to have your support there. Do please leave any comments you have in the comments box below. If you want to find out where to buy Cloudy Bay's Chardonnay, perhaps you're looking for other vintages, or if you want to find out more about this, you can follow the link in the box below to the find page on our website that will fill you in with all the details there. If you have any friends who you think might like to watch the video, please feel free to share that with them. But most importantly, do please try and find some time and come and join us for another tasting in the very near future, won't you? Thanks again. Bye for now.